Add one more to the dismal Disney train. That's right. I'm officially hopping on board the train of sadness that has become the Disney company now. As an investor, someone who's invested time, money, and even their own efforts into the Disney company in some ways, I'm sad. And as you know, I'm a Disnerd. I'm a Diz fan. I'm a Disney fanatic. Whatever term you want to use, that's probably an accurate thing to say about me. But right now, Disney is desperate. Let's talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
If you've followed this channel for a while, if you've been here since the beginning in particular, you know that I talk about Disney an awful lot. And again, there are reasons for that, which I talked about in the intro, the reasons that that is true. And that's fine. I'm a Disnerd, a Disney geek, whatever you want to call me. It's very true. I love the company, I always have. It's been a part of my life in various different ways since even before I was born. Since the year that the park in Anaheim opened up. And my mother went as a little girl. That's when the dream was born for generations of my family. Now, beyond all of that, Disney's a big corporation, one that a lot of people put their money into, and for good reason. Since the 80s, when it was nearly scooped up by foreign investment, that would be Japan, the company's grown. It's done very well. There's been some solid leadership. There have been efforts to rekindle the creative spirit of the company, and those efforts up until recently have been amazing and fruitful. So when they do their investor day, like they did this year in 2020, which we're going to talk about now, you got a sense of awe, wonder, and magic. They presented lots of different things from a lot of different business segments. This year, they could not. See, as I've told many of you many times, and many other folks will just listen, even those that are just standing on the street sometimes, Disney gets all of its extra revenue from its parks, products, and services. That's the division where the theme parks live. And there's good reason for that. That's where all of the dividends come from. That's where all the stock buyback capital comes from. That is a giant profit center. And in a time when profit centers are starting to dry up, for example, ESPN and regular broadcast television, it was even more important for the theme parks to remain operating. Of course, because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in, and the circumstances that a lot of these companies have allowed to happen to them, hint, hint, they only have one of their domestic theme parks open, and their international parks are opening and closing as fast as, I don't know, Boston markets. Anyway, that's not exactly the most relevant point, but you get the idea. So let's talk from a business aspect about what happened with the Disney 4-hour event called the Investor Day. Well, Disney announced over 60 theatrical and streaming products that will be hitting the consumer markets in between now and 2024. 2024. That's a long way out to look, especially since we know that the history of these things, when they announce them, they don't necessarily have to happen. And that's for projects that are even a year away in some cases. And at some point, we'll talk about all of those. But for now, let's just look at it plainly. Disney is abandoning the theatrical market. They're abandoning that model almost entirely in favor of their direct-to-consumer products. That would be streaming. And in the old days, a direct-to-video thing was a bad plan. Now, because you own the video and the video distribution and all of that, it's a little bit better plan. Streaming is going to be Disney's lifeline going forward, and they know it. And that's a problem because it leads them from being a widely diversified company into something that's not nearly as diversified. They have many streaming platforms, mind you, and they've added to them with the addition of Star and Star Plus in India that is supposed to spread to the United States. They are looking forward towards an 18 plus distribution with Disney Plus that will allow them to stream content, but they are definitely not abandoning Hulu. For now, Hulu and Disney Plus will be the things that will generate more subscribers, as ESPN has been lagging behind, and of course I'm referring to ESPN Plus. Right now, across all of their streaming platforms, they have 137 million subscribers. Now, they like to say paid subscribers sometimes when they're referring to things. Sometimes they just say subscribers. There's a reason for that. They are also projecting that the 2024 year will be a banner year for them. Well, they will have approximately 300 million to 350 million subscribers across all of their platforms. Now, Disney Plus is reporting as of December 2nd. Now, that number is significant because that essentially is the day when the clock starts to tick on all of the churn that Disney's about to experience on Disney Plus side, but we'll use their number for now, which is 86.8 million subs. And again, I believe that's incredibly misleading because they did it right before they're going to start to have to report numbers of the high churn because of the people that signed up for the 1-year discounted rate. After a year, people are starting to find there's very limited things to offer, hence the desperation on Disney's side. They're also reporting a really interesting number from their streaming direct revenue with $16.9 billion. Now, they say the word revenue. That's important. It's not profit. They are saying that, and the reason they're saying that is because in 2019, their theatrical revenue was $11.9 billion in box office. Also interesting. Now, what they won't tell you all along the way is that direct-to-consumer is incredibly expensive. It costs them a lot of money to produce. It costs them a lot of money to create. It costs them a lot of money to set up Disney Plus. And because of that, Disney is falling into their own version of the 80-20 rule, which means 80% of everything that they make will go direct-to-consumer. That would be streaming. The balance of it will make its way into theatrical releases. Of course, those are to come later, as they don't see anything hitting the theaters until March at the earliest, but May of 2021. That should also be disturbing to some. I think they're still going to hit that March deadline, but they could push it to May. We'll see. And that also coincides with something else that's happening around March as well, which a lot of people aren't going to be thrilled with. And I may or may not cover that here in the next couple of minutes, but you're going to see a lot of simultaneous releases that will offer films in the theater, but also simultaneously on direct-to-consumer. You might as well call that direct-to-consumer because a lot of the bigger theater chains will not want to touch those things. It'll get a simultaneous release. One of those things is what I call the very questionable Raya and the Last Dragon. I should think that you should all be very concerned about that project and the messages that it sends to children, but hey, what do I know? I can anticipate that investors were concerned about, where the money was going to come from and what profits to look at, but they were given some very bad news during the course of the investor day. There will be no profit from any of these streaming endeavors until 2023 at the earliest. So that means that they make no money. They're going to be spending billions of dollars, and we'll get to that in a second, but they make no money. That's very disappointing, I would think. All of the money that they make is going to come at an increased cost. Count on it. It's going to be very expensive for them to make every single thing that they announced. And it's going to be even more expensive because they're rushing. And while they have reduced their costs, and again, in the next few days, I'm going to release my Gold Tier member video that will explain how they're reducing costs and how that could help them in the future. But that also comes with its own cost, and again, we'll cover that in that video. And for those of you who are just are members of the channel and not gold level members, just reward level members, you're still going to see that video. You'll just see it a couple of months later because I've decided that I don't want to have a content wall where people can't get all the information eventually. So we're going to give it 60 days at the gold tier, and then that'll come out. And the information will still be relevant because it's still the truth. It's still facts and figures, and then can't run away from that. But anyway, Like I said, no profit till 2023, and Disney Plus won't even be close to profitability till 2024 at the earliest, and that actually might be a misleading number because they might be able to push their profitability forward if they are able to control their churn, which I don't think they're going to be able to do, but hey, I've only been looking at this for years and years and years with services like Netflix, so, we'll see. Disney's going to continue to spend billions, and I guess that's the overall point that I wanted to make during the course of this video. By 2024, Disney's going to spend up to $16 billion in streaming production and development costs. That's a lot. That's a ton of money into an endeavor in which they haven't seen $1 of profit as of yet. Does that sound like something that, investors should be excited about? I don't know. I'd be more excited about, attractions in a theme park bringing in additional guest revenues. I'd be attractions in the expansion of the square footage in those theme parks so that we could have additional guests available, maybe even an additional theme park. But hey, what do I know? Just somebody who's been paying attention to this for decades. But $16 billion in production every year. They think that they'll get to that number about 2024. Based on projections, I think they'll get there a lot faster. So again, I think they were misleading their investors. They're going to be spending billions and billions of dollars producing content for services that aren't yet generating a profit. Now, mind you, it takes money to make money, but you're looking at another 4 years of this before you see money. And of the 60 plus things that were announced, I think there was maybe possibly 64, 65 things. Screen Rant tries to say 61. They're wrong. But anyway, over the 60 things that were announced, probably half of them won't be produced. Let that sink in. We're on our third set of scripts for the Obi-Wan series, which now looks like it's going to be parallel storytelling. We are going down the path of female-centric shows that are not going to have the broad appeal that they would hope for, because they're going to lean heavily into the thing that gets them nowhere with the Star Wars crowd, and has done nothing but shrink their audience. They're not paying attention, and they don't care. And if you're an investor, that should concern you. Maybe not. But based on all of this, like I said, I have no real excitement when it comes to that. Let me start with this, or let me finish with this, I should say. Of these 60-some projects that they announced, they still left several of these projects off the board, which we know for a fact are either in pre-production or in production right as of this moment, where the scripts are done and they're just either waiting for a space to film or they've already begun filming. And these projects are related to some successes, and these projects are actually their own entity. But I can say this with confidence, you're not going to see a huge number of the things that were announced, like I said before. Anyway, I've been rambling on for a while now. Looking at this from a business perspective, I'm not encouraged. I'm always surprised when the stock goes up after one of these events, when really very little was presented that was positive news, in my opinion. So anyway, thanks for joining me here today. I truly appreciate it. Be sure to support other independent creators, like my friend Wes Moody, who I constantly talk about all the time. I think he's great. One of the best under-subbed channels that you'll ever find. Does amazing interviews. Did a great one with an actual fact checker the other day. Extraordinary. You should check that one out. I'll actually put that in the link here below. Just amazing. But we have many other creators out there in the community, and whether or not you hang a hashtag on your name that says Fandom Menace or not, you're more than welcome at our lunch table. We appreciate each and every one of you. And for those of you out there in the audience that are debating whether or not to start a YouTube channel or to just start talking to a camera for no reason, go for it. It's important. The more voices we have, the better. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.